Assalamu alaikum students of grade 7. I hope you guys are doing great and working hard. So it's online lecture 26th and grade is 7 and subject is social studies and we're studying geography portion and it's gonna get completed soon. So today we are gonna talk about volcanism, types of volcano and causes of eruption, and it's chapter first that we're studying currently, and that is physical state of earth, dated 13th of July 2020, and it's Monday. So let's get started. So girls and guys, before studying our today's topic, let's talk about whatever we have learned in our previous lecture and which is mandatory to talk on. So in the previous video we talked about what is an earthquake, its causes and effects, where I told you an earthquake is the shaking of the surface of earth resulting from a sudden release of energy in the earth's lithosphere that causes seismic waves. And seismic waves move around the earth. I also told you that you can, in other words or simple words, you can say that an earthquake is the shaking of the ground, and you guys have witnessed this thing many times in your life. So earthquakes are usually caused when rock underground suddenly breaks along a fault, and which is the crack on the earth's surface. So this sudden release of energy causes the seismic waves that make the ground shake. And girls and guys, I also have talked on tectonic plates many times in our previous videos. You guys have witnessed this thing as well. In almost every video I talk about the tectonic plates because they play a vital role in earthquakes, eruptions or many other natural disasters. So it's very important to have knowledge about tectonic plates. So earth has different tectonic plates, and when they move, natural disasters happen. So I told you about three moments of let's refresh our previous lectures. So in one of our previous lecture I talked about the tectonic plates, where I told you about the movements of the tectonic plates. So let's talk about the very first movement of tectonic plates, that was the divergent moment. And in this kind of movement, the two tectonic plates move away from each other. For example, I told you, for example, if one plate is moving in the right direction and the other plate would be moving in the left direction, and because of this movement, magma comes out of the earth's surface and volcanic eruption can happen this way. And the next moment that I talked about was the convergent moment or convergence. In this type of movement, the two tectonic plates move towards each other, and they come in contact with each other, and their edges get folded on each other, and hence the mountains can form this way because they create a height, and mountains are all about heights. So the last movement that I talked about was the slide movement, or you can say that the transform movement. And in this movement, the two plates slide past each other. Okay, so great. So girls and guys, because of the happenings of these kind of movements, volcanic eruptions happen, earthquakes happen, tsunamis happen. I have sent you two videos. One video was entirely on how do tsunamis happen because of the movements of the tectonic plates, and the second movement was about the volcanic eruption, how volcanoes erupt because of the movements of the tectonic plates. So you can also just pause my video right here and just go back and just replay the videos and just have the refreshed knowledge, you can say that. Okay, so the earthquake happened because of the movements of the tectonic plates. So I also I'm just telling you the summary of the previous lecture because it goes with a lot of details. I also have given you the detail in the previous lecture, but now I am just going to give you the summary of the whole lecture. So I told you about earthquake. I told you about how earthquakes happen. Then I'm gonna tell you about the effects of earthquake. And the effects of an earthquake are terrible and devastating, disastrous. So it includes ground shaking, obvious thing, ground rupture, landslide, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, soil liquefaction, etc. Earthquakes. These things happen because of the earthquakes. So girls and guys, people may be killed or injured, homes may be destroyed, transport and communication links may be disrupted, water pipes may burst, and water supplies may be contaminated. So there are many disasters because of the earthquakes. You guys have witnessed this thing. I have witnessed many earthquakes in my life, and you guys may have seen many news from the media that the how earthquakes can come along with the lot of destructions, and they became the cause of the death of many innocent lives as well. The other day I was watching while preparing the lecture, I just saw a video. So Japan was hit by a tsunami, and it was disastrous. It was really it was sickening while watching the video, because I have witnessed a lot of homes were destroyed. The many innocent people lost their loved ones, and many innocent people got killed and injured. So it was really devastating. So it was all about the previous lecture, and we have gone too far while talking on this. So let's get back to the lecture, and today we're gonna talk about volcanism. So let's get started. So let's talk about volcanism. So girls and guys, volcanism is the phenomenon of eruption of molten rock, that is called magma, onto the surface of the earth. So the activity of the volcanic eruption is called volcanism. So it includes all phenomena resulting from and causing magma within the crust or mantle of the body to rise through the crust and form volcanic rocks on the surface. So girls and guys, there are basic terms that you should know and you should aware of, and I'm hoping that you guys are aware of, like crust, mantle, inner core, outer core. I have delivered online lectures on these things individually. So let me tell you again, volcanism is the phenomenon of eruption of molten rock, or you can say that magma onto the surface of the earth. The process of the volcanic eruption is called volcanism. And volcanoes erupt when molten rock, that is called magma, rises to the surface. Magma is formed when the earth's mantle melts. If magma is thick, gas bubbles cannot easily escape and pressure builds up as the magma rises. When the pressure is too much, an explosive eruption can happen, and which can be very dangerous, life-taking and destructive, and disastrous. So this process, that is the volcanic eruption, is called volcanism. So once my lecture is completed, I'll be showing you separate videos where you guys will be witnessing the eruption of the volcanoes, like the volcanism and many other things. So just wait for those videos. So girls and guys, let me tell you something about volcanic eruptions. So a volcano is a vent in the earth's crust from which eruptions occur. It's obvious. And I told you the process of the volcanic eruption is called volcanism, right? So there are about 1500 potentially active volcanoes worldwide. And when volcanoes erupt, they can spew hot, dangerous gases, ash, lava, and rock that can be very dangerous and cause disastrous loss of life and property, especially in heavily populated areas. So girls and guys, here is a little info. There is volcanic activities and wildfires affected 6.2 million people and caused nearly 2400 to 400 deaths between 1998 to 2017. So there are different types of volcanic eruptive events, including pyroclastic explosions, which is fast moving hot gas and volcanic matter, then hot and ash releases, then when lava flows, then when gas emissions happen, and when gas and ashes release. Volcanic eruptions happen through these channels. So volcanic eruptions can also cause secondary events such as floods, landslides, mudslides, and snow or melting ice. Hot ashes can also start wildfires. So volcanic eruptions can impact climate change through emitting volcanic gases like sulfur dioxide, which causes global cooling, and volcanic carbon dioxide, which has the potential to promote global warming. So volcanic eruptions can never be good at any way, because they can cause many disastrous events and can be very dangerous for both for human and for the wildlife. So girls and guys, there's an interesting fact box on your book. So let me tell you one thing. There are many interesting info, or you can say that interesting fact box on your books, and these are very important for you to read. I recommend you every time while learning anything from your textbook, please give special attention to the separate boxes with heading interesting facts or something like that. So there's an interesting fact on page number 15, which says that the world's largest and unique mud volcanoes are found in Pakistan, at the coast of Balochistan. So girls and guys, there are various types of volcanoes on the basis of the nature of magma which comes out of it. So based on the activity, there are three kinds of volcanoes. There is active volcanoes, dormant volcanoes, and extinct volcanoes. So we are going to study about these volcanoes. An active volcano is a volcano that has had at least one eruption during the past 10,000 years. An active volcano might be erupting or dormant. So an erupting volcano is an active volcano that is having an eruption. So a dormant volcano is an active volcano that is not erupting but supposed to erupt again. So an extinct volcano has not had an eruption for at least 10,000 years and is not expected to erupt again in a comparable timescale of the future. And active volcanoes cause a lot of destruction and can be very dangerous and disastrous. The dormant volcanoes are those which have not erupted for a few hundred years, as I told you before, but these can be very powerful. So now let me tell you about different types of volcanoes. But first, let me take you back to the concept of the volcano. So a volcano is an opening in the earth's surface where molten rock can escape from underneath. Clear? Okay. So the earth's surface is made up of a tectonic plates. Obvious, very clear. We have already talked about this concept multiple times. So, Earth's surface is made up of tectonic plates which are spreading apart, crunching into each other, or sliding beside one another. Movements of plates. Okay, so volcanoes are typically found at the fault line between these plates. Obvious. So there can be active volcanoes which are currently or have recently erupted. Okay, so there are also dormant volcanoes which haven't erupted recently. Clear? Okay, and extinct volcanoes which will never erupt again. Clear, girls and guys? Are you ready for knowing about 4 major types of volcanoes? Okay, great. So first is cinder cone volcanoes. Second is composite volcanoes, and the third is shield volcanoes, and the last one is lava domes. So let's talk about the cinder cone volcanoes. So these are the simplest type of volcano. They occur when particles and blobs of lava are ejected from a volcanic vent. The lava is blown violently into the air and the pieces rain down around the vent. So over the time, this builds up a circular or oval shaped cone with a bowl shaped crater at the top. Cinder cone volcanoes rarely grow larger than about 1,000 feet above their surroundings. So let's talk about the composite volcanoes. So composite volcanoes make up some of the world's most memorable mountains, like Mount Fuji, for example. So these volcanoes have a conduit system inside them that channels magma from the deep within the earth to the surface. They can have clusters of vents with lava breaking through walls or issuing from fissures on the sides of the mountain. With all this material coming out, they can grow thousands of meters tall. As let me give you an example. Mount St. Helens, the composite volcanoes, can explode violently. So next is the shield volcanoes. These are large, broad volcanoes that look like shields from above, hence the name. So the lava that pours out of shield volcanoes is thin, so it can travel for great distances down the shallow slopes of the volcano. These volcanoes build up slowly over time with hundreds of eruptions, creating many layers. They're not likely to explode catastrophically. Perhaps the best known shield volcanoes are the ones that make up the Hawaiian Islands, especially Mauna Loa and Mauna Kea. So the last one is the lava domes. So girls and guys, volcanic or lava domes are created by small masses of lava which are too viscous. Viscous mean thick to flow very far. So unlike shield volcanoes, the magma from volcanic domes just pile up over the ground, over and around the vent. So the dome grows by expansion of the lava within, and the mountains forms from material spilling off the sides of the growing dome. So girls and guys, lava domes can explode violently, releasing a huge amount of hot rock and ash. So girls and guys, here's a question. Why do volcanoes erupt? So volcanoes erupt when molten rock called magma rises to the surface, and magma is formed when the Earth's mantle melts. So melting may happen when tectonic plates are pulling apart, or where one plate is pushed down under another. So magma is lighter than rock, so it rises towards the Earth's surface. As the magma rises, bubbles of gas form inside it. So runny magma erupts through openings or vents in the center, Earth's crust, before flowing onto its surface as lava. If magma is thick, gas bubbles cannot easily escape and pressure builds up as the magma rises. So when the pressure is too much, an explosive eruption can happen, which can be very dangerous and very destructive. So another way an eruption happens is when water underneath the surface interacts with hot magma and creates steam. So this can build up enough pressure to cause an explosion. So I am just going to remind your previous concepts just by telling you all these things again. I have explained these things all, so I have repeated some of the important points in order to make you understand better. So let's learn about the causes of the volcanic eruption. So first, volcanic eruption due to sea floor spreading. So girls and guys, when magma reaches the level of the sea floor, it meets cold ocean water and quickly cools to form basaltic rock, often termed as pillow lava due to its rounded shape. So frequent eruptions along divergent plate boundaries such as the mid-Atlantic ridge form new ocean bottom in a process known as seafloor spreading. So, seafloor spreading is a process that occurs at mid-ocean ridges where new oceanic crust is formed through volcanic activity and then gradually moves away from the ridge. So here is is another thing that they're saying. Seafloor is denser than the continental crust. Okay, so due to its heavy weight, it sometimes falls inside the lower layer of Earth. When a newly formed seafloor converges with an old seafloor at a fault line, the old seafloor submerges. This causes the earthquake. Clear? So there are many other causes of the volcanic eruption. We are gonna talk about few, and I want you all to have a little search on more causes of the volcanic eruption in order to increase your knowledge or in order to add a new star in your galaxy. So let's talk about some effects of the volcanic eruptions. First is the landslides. So heat from cooling magma can cause hydrothermal alteration of the rocks, turning sections of them into clay. This weakens the rocks and increases the risk of slope failures. So next is flooding. So explosive eruptions can change the surface areas around a volcano and disrupt drainage patterns, leading to long-term flooding. So other secondary effects include food water interrupted, homelessness, business forced to close, cost of insurance claims, unemployment, and long-term issues with the tourism industry. And there are many other effects as well. I want you to just dig into a little search and find out more effects and causes of volcanic eruptions. So let's talk about the effects of volcanic eruptions on environment and health. So girls and guys, volcanoes pose a threat to almost a number of people, and every year there are 10 to 40 volcanic eruptions. Volcanic eruptions produce hazardous effects for the environment, climate, and the health of the exposed persons, and are associated with the deterioration of social and economic condition. Along with magma and steam, the following gases surface in the environment like carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, carbon sulfide, hydrogen chloride, hydrogen methane, hydrogen fluoride, and various organic compounds like heavy metals like mercury, lead, and gold. So girls and guys, their unfavorable effects depend on the distance from a volcano, on magma viscosity, and on gas concentrations. So the hazards closer to the volcano include the flows of mud, gases and steam, earthquakes, blasts of air, and tsunamis. So, among the hazards in distant areas are the effects of toxic volcanic ashes and problems of the respiratory system, eyes, and skin, as well as psychological effects, injuries, transport, and communication problems, waste disposal, and water supplies issues, collapse of buildings, and power outage. And the further effects can be the issues in the water quality, fewer periods of rain, crop damages, and the destruction of the vegetation. During volcanic eruptions and their immediate aftermath, increased respiratory system issues that have been observed, as well as mortality among those affected by volcanic eruptions. So unfavorable health effects could partly be prevented by timely application of safety measures. So, girls and guys, that's all for today's lecture. Today, I told you about the volcanism, then effects and causes. Then, I also told you about the previous tectonic plates, and we also talk about how do volcanoes erupt and why do they erupt, and we also talk about many causes and many reasons behind their eruption, and how can eruption be so devastating and dangerous for environment and health. We also have thrown some light on these issues. So for your assignment, I have chosen some sweet and short questions. First question is how mountains and plateaus are formed, and second question is what is volcanism. Your third question is what are three types of volcanoes. Fourth one is where the world's largest and unique mud volcano are formed, and the last question is what are causes of volcanic eruption. So take great care of yourself, drink plenty of water. Allah Hafiz.